everyone.
One more time.
Oh, it started now.
We're all set. Alright, so thank you guys for coming back again to another edition of Peter Gets Up in Front of His Home Group and Gives a Weird Speech. You might remember me from previous speeches like How to Lose a Fish in 10 Days. And you got served a compelling look into salmonella poisoning in schools. And also Toe Jam 101, a beginner's guide to proper foot hygiene. Today we are going to be a little more serious and talk about some technologies. More specifically, we're going to talk about inventions, one specific invention. And as you know, all inventions must start out with an idea, and all ideas must have an author. And I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of our current, present-day technology has been invented by people who love science fiction novels. So I'm going to start out by listing a couple inventions that have been ideated by science fiction novels. The first is the flip cell phone. The guy who invented the flip cell phones actually loved Star Trek. So you know Captain Kirk's communicator? That was where he framed it from. Then the taser. The person who built the taser loved sci-fi. And in one of his sci-fi novels, there was a guy named Thomas A. Swift, and he had an electric rifle. So Thomas A. Swift's electric rifle is actually a taser. Next, we'll get a little more serious, and that's space travel. In 1865, Jules Verne wrote a book called From Earth to the Moon. It was actually meant to be a comedy about three guys who cannonballed themselves out to the moon. But what ended up happening was people took it seriously and really started thinking about going to the moon. And come to find out later, he made these calculations about how to send these guys out to the moon, and when they were doing the Apollo missions, he was actually dead on a lot of his calculations. Finally, orbiting satellites. In a novel called The Brick Moon, Arthur C. Clarke came up with the invention of communication satellites. So no one had thought of that idea before, but a sci-fi novelist came up with it, and we actually ended up coming out with communication satellites. But what I want to talk about today is space elevators. The same author who came up with the communication satellite has come up or popularized an idea where you can take a cable from Earth and take it outside of our atmosphere and connect up a counterweight. And so while the Earth is turning, this cable will stay up, and you can use an elevator to transport materials up and back down. Now, the question is, would it actually work? That's the big question. And no, it wouldn't, up until about 5 years ago. And there's a new technology that came out called carbon nanotubes. And carbon nanotubes are like stronger than steel, a really, really strong component that you can make tethered rope out of. So with this new technology that is not just a scientific theory, it's coming into production soon, we could create tethers that are long enough to reach outside of our atmosphere, approximately 22,000 miles above Earth, and we could build robots that are laser powered that would go up and down the tether that would carry about 10 pounds every 3 days. One of the questions I had was, where would you put something like this? How would you actually put a space elevator in the middle of America? And the truth is you wouldn't. You would do it the same way as you do sea launches of space shuttles. You put it out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean along the equator, so that way as the elevator's tether swings, it stays at a consistent velocity because it's on the equator. It's not going around the axis like the rest of the Earth. Brady Edwards, who is actually funded by NASA and works over at the University of Berkeley and has been paid to research this, says that it would take about $10 billion to build a space elevator. We could have one built within our lifetime. And another part about the space elevator, and I don't know if you guys know this, but it costs $10,000 per pound to launch a space shuttle. And if you don't know how much a space shuttle is, it's 4.4 million pounds. So half of the 4.4 million pounds, approximately 2 million pounds, is fuel weight to get the space shuttle from Earth's surface out into orbit. So by using a space elevator that only costs $10 billion, you can stimulate the economy by giving people jobs. You can continue expanding and exploring through space, because now you can transport things up to the elevator, and as it swings, you can launch shuttles off of it, and it will actually propel them straight to Mars, straight to the moon, or wherever you want to go. So thank you guys very much for listening about what space elevators are, their feasibility, and some other fun facts about technology. Thanks.
All right.